This is a copy of the notes we took for 6-2 in class. So if you weren't there or you've misplaced your notes, you might want to pause this and make a screenshot. I'm going to work back through these examples on this first page in this video, and then I'll do another video for the opposite page. So what we had is we had a problem that had to do with continuous variables, and it had to do with download time for videos, and we were given a mean of 7 seconds for download time and a standard deviation of 2 seconds. We were also given some information that indicates that it is a normal distribution. So if we have a normal distribution of a continuous variable, we can use something called a z-chart and z-scores to find probabilities. If you recall, this is what a normal distribution looks like. These are z-scores here, and again, we convert these z-scores because on the chart, the area under the curve is the probability. Now, here's a chart of our video time, and you can see 7 seconds is our mean. That's going to be in the middle. Most of our values cluster around that. A lot of them are between 5 and 9 seconds. Majority, 95%, between 3 and 11. And almost all between 1 and 13 seconds, or within 3 standard deviations on either side. So your z-score is just your standard deviation. And this will make more sense as we work some problems here. Now, when we read our z-chart, and I keep referring to the z-chart, you should have gotten a copy of this in class, or you can print these off of your homework. When you're working on homework 6-2 problems, it'll give you an opportunity. You can print these off. It's a 2-page chart. You have a positive side for z, and you have a negative side because it's standard deviations. And in the body, it gives you probabilities, and these probabilities are the area under the curve to the left. So let's just go ahead and get started and explain this. So let's start off with this one that says download time is less than 8 seconds. Well, if it says less than, it's pretty straightforward, not a whole lot of steps. So we're looking at the probability that our time is less than 8. We want to convert that to a z-score, and that's pretty simple. Our z-score, and we've written this down before in a previous lesson, is your x value minus mu over standard deviation. Remember, this is mu, and that's your standard deviation sigma. Okay, so for 8, that's 8 minus 7 over 2, and that's going to give us 1/2 or 0.5. So what we do is we're going to go to our z-chart, and we're looking on the positive side. Here's 0.5. You can take your z-score out to the hundredths place. Since it's exactly 0.5, 0.500, here is our probability. So about 69% of your download times are going to be less than 8 seconds. And again, what we're looking at is we're looking at a normal curve. This is always going to be your mean. Less than 8 seconds. 8 seconds would be on this side. So we would expect a positive z-score, standard deviation, because we're to the right. And remember, that chart always gives us the area under the curve to the left, and that is your probability. About 69% of this is shaded. Well, if it says more than, we have an extra step. If the probability of x is more than 8, since it always gives us to the left, remember all this adds to 1, you simply say 1 minus the probability that x is below 8. Well, we've already found that, and so we simply subtract from 1. So less than, straightforward, more than, subtract from 1, between. Let's look at that. So here's 7, here's 8. We're looking for the area between. Well, what we'll do is simply take the probability that the time is less than 8 seconds minus the probability that x is below 7 seconds. The reason is because the probability less than 8 is all this area. Well, we only want the area from here to here, so we take off that below 7, and so there's your setup for between. We've already converted our x to our z-score for 8. That was positive 0.5. The z-score for 7, well, 7's your mean. And so remember, z is your x value minus your mean over sigma, and which was 2. And, well, anyway, 0 over any number is 0. So this always, your mean always converts to a z-score of 0. We've already found this on the chart. Let's find 0. And we go here, there's 0. And of course, 50% of the area. I mean, that makes sense. And didn't do a good job writing that, minus 50%. And that gives us an area of about 20% of videos take between 7 and 8 seconds. We'll continue other side in part 2.